Okay. Hello and welcome to Making the Grade. Tonight it is just Christine on. I am chatting with Will Young. Will is a high-ranking super forecaster and published author of Wealth, Wisdom, and the Pursuit of Less. He has spent years integrating stoicism, neuroscience, and financial expertise into practical systems anyone can use. His work centers on helping people protect their time, organize their thinking, and practice self mastery daily. These are in sync with the skills that he is spotlighting across all of his work, personally and professionally. He is also one of our clients in our executive function coaching and one of our favorite people to talk to. So it's very exciting to have him with us tonight. Thanks
Well,
for
thank
joining
you for
us.
having me. Yes, no, it's nice. Lovely. When our cold fronts here in our basements are, hunkered down for the last couple days with the snow. But
Yes.
it's good to be talking.
Where are you chatting with the audience tonight from?
I'm in Baltimore. I'm in my basement studio next to my surfboards behind me.
Yeah, you can see it in there. I know it's dreaming of warmer days for sure.
Yes, they're my
Will
practice boards.
Will is an avid surfer, and we were chatting before we pressed record about the size of waves. So I want to get back into that and pick that back up for sure before we hop off tonight. But do you mind taking us back to the beginning a little bit and telling us about your journey professionally and what has led you to the work that you do today?
I was lost for much of my life. I didn't have a real grasp of why I thought differently, why I saw the world so differently. And we didn't have a way to really communicate with people outside of our small little circles when we're kids. So you couldn't find other people. And I always questioned things that seemed odd to me. How can people be so sure about something, but they know absolutely nothing about it or very little about it? And or they make constant predictions about things and they never come true. And I just found that fascinating, the human nature to be extraordinarily confident. Terms like overconfidence bias, and depending on the type, self-serving bias, where when anything's wrong, it's something outside of your scope. But when everything's right, it's because, of course, you were right.
Right.
Uh, and just the mental gymnastics of that. And that always fascinated me with stocks, finance, politics, and sports, because those are the three areas that people are always making forecasts or predictions. So that's kind of what always interested me. And I would be like, how can you be so wrong? And
Right.
people listen to you. And even my father will say, I said, that stop. Like, don't even bring it up. Because if, if they don't have some type of score, Briar score, then I won't even listen. So that's always been there. And I didn't really know how to harness that.
Hmm.
And I took sports psychology to kind of understand why do people fail? What goes through the minds? These were things that just fascinated me. Why wouldn't someone work out or do something that would benefit them? Like certain things that were just so logical to me.
Hmm.
And logic doesn't persuade people. So I started digging down these areas. And a lot of it was even in the sales books I read. It wasn't about trying to get someone to buy. It was about trying to connect with somebody emotionally to really figure out, hey, can I help them?
Hmm.
And if you get in front of enough people, you do. So ultimately, when I got into this field, the psychology fascinated me more than anything else behind the stock market and how to make picks. And I guess after several years of trying to figure things out, I finally started getting in the right path of behavioral psychology and finance. And that's when I started to really get my true education in life and really started to understand myself. Like, oh, they said this. It doesn't make sense to me, but there is a sense to it. And other people have found this work. It's just, even though it's widely available
Hmm.
and you have everything at your palm of your hand, people just are too lazy to look it up unless it shows up on the TV.
We're the curious, we're the information seekers. That was something that you and I had alignment on when we first chatted. I remember being so struck hearing you say your story and how you've always been fascinated by human behavior, and I feel that so similarly and so deeply. And I think when we had first chatted, it almost caught me off guard, and I didn't. I was like, oh wow. I had to really think about it and reflect on it for months after. It's like other people also seek to understand, in that way, and that's not common, right? It's
It
not.
is so it's very uncommon.
And it's so interesting because when I think about, when you were just talking about predictions and human behavior and what goes into your professional work, right? Whether within the finance field, it really has not as much to do with the rational side of your brain, right? And I think that's what, from my experience, is lacking in your space, right? And I think that's something that we figured out early on about each other, that alignment with our work. And it's funny when you think of like finance and neuroscience as having this connection. It's not plain to see unless you really dig a little deeper, and then it's like, oh, of course, there needs to be, because it seems like rational decision making, as you said, was something that should be so logical and straightforward, rarely happens, right?
We're just not, our code was not made that way. It was fight or flight,
Mm-hmm.
and that won't change. Exile was the worst thing that could happen to somebody because you would die, and especially a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Up until maybe 100 years ago, it was extremely challenging. And without the group,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's people rather be factually false but socially accurate. I
Yep.
love saying that.
That's
Or
yeah.
and we have the need for high cognition. We just like I need to have an understanding. Of course, certain things like it don't bother me, but in these areas, I have to understand how the person feels. And if you can understand their emotion and get their emotion, you can calm them and get in front of a lot of this stuff. And that's ultimately like, why would somebody who, and again, this is the same with companies or regardless of if I like or dislike somebody, I'll invest in the stock and I have these conversations because people know where I stand and my values. I wrote them down
Mm-hmm.
and put them in a book. And I asked you to write what is wealth to you? What is important to you?
Mm-hmm.
It's the relationships. And of course, I handle money. And of course, I want into financial independence. But you can have that when you understand how the mechanics work. Because nothing in the markets short term is based on, it's just based on this trust, this invisible trust.
Right.
Like the monetary, everything is based on this imaginary trust. And when you have these changes or you have the markets collapse or
Mm-hmm.
and that's the greatest opportunity. But when opportunity happens, I got ChatGPT and
Mm-hmm.
Claude for a few clients back in the beginning of 2023. And I literally called 50 people. No, like I couldn't get anybody to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. They made 900%, 600%,
Wow.
but nobody wanted to do it because they're scared. I'm like,
Right.
this is the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the understanding me is so simple. And it wasn't until I joined this group about 2.5 years ago, which I mentioned before, this social edge group where it's an AI pilot program where they
Mm-hmm.
study your face
Mm-hmm.
and the behaviors and how you talk and communicate. And they would always say to me, you move your phone around a lot and you're doing all this. So you really made my AI systems work better.
Oh, that's neat.
Um, yeah. So little things like that allow me to find other people that I realized are like me and like write down these goofy notes and write down all these things that help us
Right.
kind of grow and build off of that. So, ultimately that led me to really find myself, which really wasn't until maybe 2018 when I was like, wow, I've changed, but I'm still growing and I love
Mm-hmm.
being a part of different things.
In thinking about you've described the way that you feel like your brain works, and obviously that's the heart and essence of the work that we do, is trying to get people to understand their unique learner profile. And I was just looking back in your notes, and I thought I wanted to make sure that I was correct in my assumption and remembering back. But when we first start working with someone, we have them do our assessment, and there's one of four personas. Do you remember what you were and if it tracked? Because I just had to look
It
back
did
through.
track, but I don't
You
remember
were a
off the top of
planner.
my.
It's okay. It's kind of like
Yes.
the Gretchen Rubin type stuff where,
Yes.
there's a, oh yeah, you're totally, but
That was a good book.
yeah, yeah, she's got excellent stuff.
I read
But
like a woman. I
um,
do. I read a lot, and so I kind of resonate with a lot of women because they tend to read and care about this type of stuff. That was
yeah,
a good book. Very helpful.
definitely. Yes. And planner, which tracks for the way that you've described how you process information, and you like to kind of run your day. It gives you that ability to take vacations, and go surf in warm places, like we were just talking about. After doing the assessment and kind of working through the coaching, what would you say, what were kind of some takeaways about whether it's like observing the way that you were working or what you were working toward? What came up for you in the process?
A reminder of how important it is to have a planned day and
Mm-hmm.
to schedule things specifically for certain times.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I tend to do that, you when you start to break a little off of that,
Mm-hmm.
it snowballs. So
Right.
you kind of veer off. And when we first met, I had given my assistant to, not given her, but I
Mm-hmm.
told my business partner that I wanted him to take her because he wasn't going to be able to train her
Mm-hmm.
or train a new person. And I didn't want to leave him in a bad spot. And so I was in a quest to find somebody new. So I had like a temporary rental, so to speak, at Ameriprise. And, that took me off my path. And I reminded Haley of that because now she's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna come over, and I love that structure. It's
Mm-hmm.
like they're like, is she bossing you around? I'm like, no, she's just keeping me on track because my mind just wants to go here, but I know I got to be here, and
Yes.
then I can get lost in what should be 2 hours for 5 hours,
Yes.
and I've
You
done that many
also
times.
part connector in that, so the
Hmm.
planner and then connector. And I'm actually the same exact profile, and I think that makes sense, because we like to. We are able to hold ourselves accountable to get work done, but the connector piece of it is that we really thrive in connecting with another person, whether
Hmm.
that's working alongside them, sharing ideas, getting feedback, maybe being told what to do by someone else who has a different executive function profile than ourselves. But
Correct.
yeah, that's awesome.
And you got to have, and it's a reminder of how to communicate. Like, even though I'm the owner and I'm your
Hmm.
boss, I want you to feel like a partner, and I'm going to treat you like that. It's not just words. My actions will be that way.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of comes off a little odd when you have a lot more experience, but it's true. And so for me, I like to be a procrastinator. I
Oh,
love being in front of stuff.
hmm.
And now my life is really organized and
Hmm.
much better. And again, I'm doing this big mastermind, which we're going to talk about as well
Yeah,
too. And
exciting.
that is, I can take that mental stress or decision fatigue, whatever, and
Hmm.
put that in a box. She's taking it and then bringing it back to me on Thursday or Friday. So those are the things that are
Closing the
very
loop.
important.
I call
Yes.
that closing the loop. That's
Okay.
awesome.
These are very important because I have a lot of things going on right now because I have a massive goal to
Hmm.
get to because I think we're going to have a very challenging market ahead. I
Hmm.
want to protect my clients' money, stay in front of them, but at the same time add certain clients. And I've added since we talked three more clients.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, no, it's good because I'm really structured and I like having a specific type of client where
Hmm.
they're like, we share the same values, where a lot of people just want to take anybody on. Your values matter to me because
Hmm.
I'll spend 19 hours only in a year where the average person spends about 4.
Hmm.
And maybe that's not every year, but when it's necessary, I do.
Right.
And so for me, I like picking up the phone and calling people. I'm calling people from Oahu, and they're like, "You're calling me from the North Shore." I said, "I just wanted to let you know, you got to come here." And it's they're like, "That's so nice." I'm like, "We're friends. Of
Right.
course I would." Sometimes they forget, like, "Yeah, I'm bossing you around with don't spend any your money here, but we are friends." But that's just the planner side in me telling, because I got to do that to other people and I got to be the structure. So it's very hard for me to do it. That's why it's important to have accountability, which is why the executive stuff is important. Because I don't have any accountability, but I
Mhm.
have to get someone to hold me accountable.
Totally.
So
In thinking about so those executive function skills like our working memory, our task initiation, our ability to plan and self-monitor, flexible thinking, in thinking about executive function, what do you wish other people in your industry understood about understanding yourself in that way and being able to apply executive function skills into the finance world? So I think you are unique in your ability to see the connection, right? And I don't get the sense that it's widespread in your line of work.
most people get a good play at Ameriprise. I will say this, they do structure things well for you if you follow it. And a lot of people started Ameriprise and then worked the way up to be independent.
Mm-hmm.
So that does create structure, but the problem is when you start, there's just too much coming at you. It's like a fire hose of information,
Mm-hmm.
and that is overwhelming because even when I've been in it for a long time, I was at Ameriprise, I started my career and came back, and most places don't have that structure. I mean, every place I've ever been to does not have that structure. They just,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they just throw you out in the ocean and hope you can swim,
Right.
which is, or they don't have things structured. But even when I came back, it was just so much stuff coming at me. People always wanting to take your time, but you still have to work clients and all this other stuff. It's very hard to manage that without having people. And a lot of people fail because they need to write these down and then stay accountable to their structured day.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take calls. If someone calls at 9 in the morning, you can't do anything about it. You got to get to that at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Take
Right.
care of it. Like little things like that. But most people do need their personal structure because it's separate from the company structure.
Yes.
Like I thrive best in the morning. I don't thrive late at night.
Similarly, similar. But yeah, we're both early birds. Wonder if that has to do with our profile. Who knows? But
Probably.
yeah, probably.
Probably don't have many planners. You have artists and other people at midnight. You
Yes,
know what
my
I mean?
husband burns the midnight oil. He's into creative fields. He goes to bed late. He likes to wake up late. He doesn't function well before
I don't
10
know how
p.m.
they do it. I'm like, how do you do that? I
I
need to
know.
just take off.
That's when you know what there's we could go on about this, but there I was reading recently. My son has been stalling at bedtime, and when you are getting ready to go to sleep, your mind is kind of like reflecting on the day and open to, okay, what happened today, and it's almost when you get like your bouncing ideas when your brain is trying to regulate to get ready for sleep, when the melatonin hits, I think.
Hmm.
And it's when like all of your notebook, like your, oh, I have to write this down ideas happen. And the way that my husband has explained it to me is that that's when he gets his best. Maybe because the house is quiet, I don't know. We're
There,
not all up in his business.
there are a lot of people like that. A book I read on my journey, and I'll never forget. It was a book I bought for other people because it really touched me. And I don't talk, it's called Mastery by Robert Greene.
Hmm.
And he talked about how people worked obsessively at something for long periods, like hieroglyphics.
Hmm.
The person who figured it out worked on it for, I don't know, 3, 4 straight years. And he felt like a failure and he quit. And then like a year and a half later, he decided to come back and it just kind of came to him because he was able to give his mental break,
Right.
see things differently, get outside of because you have the depth, but you sometimes need breadth to
Right.
look around and say, "Oh, I noticed there's one piece missing and it's right here."
Perspective.
So we got to pick our. So there's a lot more to it. So you got to have that breadth, which is a good book called Range. So there's quite a few little tiny things that
Hmm.
can really help. As when we started this conversation, where you brought up big fish, little pond,
Hmm.
which is something that can be very fruitful for people to succeed at. If you're a big fish and you go to a big school, you're just a forgotten fish
Hmm. That's true. That's very true.
because
Yes. Yeah.
everybody may
Before
be
we got
smart
on.
at that
Yeah.
school. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, you're like, I've been number one in my class, but now when you're with
You're
eight and a
swallowed
half
up.
billion people
Right.
and you're like the 10th, you're like, your self-esteem goes down, but you're like, well, you're still the 10th best. They're like, but I was number, so your own personal ego in the ecosystem you're in
Hmm.
matters, which is your environment, which again is what we're talking about, is your environment, your planning, your ability to block things out, which is
Hmm.
why stoicism is so important to me. It's like I can tune everything out.
That's a very hard skill
It
to
is
master.
very hard.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote it in the storm,
Yeah.
is when the storms are crazy, I perk up.
Hmm.
And I got in trouble before around other advisors in our room. They got so mad at me. They're like, "Why you're so ex-" I said, "Because I'm just like I don't know what to buy. I've got this list and it's bigger and people were scared. I'm like, it's not the end of the world, and if it is, it only happens once.
Right.
So you ain't got to worry about it twice. I'm not going to worry about it and then have it happen.
Yes.
I'll just
Pre-warned.
have it happen. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
They're like, haha, that's funny. I said, it's true because you
Yeah.
take twice the pain if you worry
Totally.
about it. And that again is just a simple logical thing to me.
Yes. Yeah. You don't want to go to the bank of trouble and take out a loan. That expression.
Yes, but
Yes.
people do that. And so these are common things that people need guidance and coaching
Hmm.
is critical. What you offer is critical. And even if I don't think I know everything and I clearly don't. I know a lot, but I know enough to know that I know so little. It's
Hmm.
like I've learned so much that I'm like, wow, I know almost nothing, yet I
Hmm.
know more than most people.
It's a weird dynamic for sure. I feel
It's
that
a
way too.
humbling,
Yes.
like,
Very humbling.
wow. And then you see other people who have incredible memories, like a guy I know, and I'm like, wow, if I had that memory. And here I'm like doing the low side where C-Link go and I'm like dropping things and to remember people's names and stuff. That's how they did it in ancient Rome. You can do all these tricks, so to
Right.
speak, or little hacks that make your life better. And
Speaking of hacks, what would you say is your most underrated hack that helps you in your day to day work life? Something simple that other people might gloss over, but it really works for you. And it doesn't need to be popular, but just something that you find helps you function optimally in your day to day work life.
whatever you do that you really care about,
Mm-hmm.
put your phone down or put it on do not disturb. Do
Mm-hmm.
not check your emails and block off the two best hours of your day to get the most fulfilling reward. That's typically when I'm reading or thinking and processing really detailed stuff. And it's the only time I can't listen to music
Yeah.
because I'm really that's when like you almost can like say, "Oh my God, my brain's really working hard here." Because that's what you need to push your brain. You need to
Mm-hmm.
do that. You don't want to be on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, designate 2 hours a day. Now I have a little bit more than that, but to do your best work, to transformational work.
Mm-hmm.
That a year from today, you'll look back and say, I'm glad I started today.
Yeah. That's great
And
advice.
you have to do that. And most people just don't. They do this, they turn on the TV, they got the
Right.
noise running. Keep it silent.
Yeah.
Be happy in silence. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to, when we were children, you weren't always occupied. Well, you didn't grow up with a cell phone, I don't think. So
No,
you
I
could just sit
didn't. I
outside.
didn't. It's funny. I was reflecting with, I saw a lot of my cousins yesterday, and we were thinking back to the ways that we entertained ourselves growing. I didn't get a cell phone until I started driving because that was kind of just coming out then. So before that, we didn't walk around with it in our pocket. We had to make up our own fun. And we used to create like a blockbuster store with all the videos in our house or a library, and one of us would be at the front, and one of us had a job, and we spent the whole day doing it just because we had nothing else to do, right? And like that dynamic, we try, there's a group of parents and I that try to create that for our kids as much
Hmm.
as possible, those experiences, because it is yeah, we live a very distracted life now. I agree.
learn to live and be around your thoughts and then
Mm-hmm.
harness those thoughts. That and I do that on my walks. The dogs walk is like, they walk as fast. And that I tell you this because this is regardless of anything else. If you have dogs, it makes it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Walk every day,
Mm-hmm.
every single day. And I take them out for 2 miles, which may seem like a lot, but you feel so good, except for when it's this bitter cold. That is something that you come up with your best ideas and you keep
Yeah.
pulling your mind back in. It's not hard to walk, it's very easy, it's good. The dogs love it, you'll love it. And it gets you moving and it
Mm-hmm.
gets you to those 1,000 hours.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, 1,000 hours outside. Um, in thinking about anyone who's listening and your words of wisdom that you're wanting to share this week, what advice would you have for someone who is wanting to make a change professionally, whether it's a small goal or a big goal? You have a big goal coming up this year. What is your advice to someone, in taking that first step?
All right. The first thing you need to do is start writing down, brainstorming. Who am I? What do I stand for? When I'm dead, do I want it to say, Will was the best driver in traffic? He sat at his desk longer hours than anybody else ever. He won all of his fantasy footballs. Like, none of that matters. You know what I mean? And if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. And who wants to be a rat?
It's true.
So add humor. I try to add a little bit of humor to stuff. And I started writing down what I want to accomplish. I didn't do that before because, and this sounds funny, and even I often don't look people up ahead of time
Mm-hmm.
because I want to ask them questions with a clean slate, without a predisposed thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to answer your question as
That
simple
must be
as
hard for you as a very curious person.
yes. But you can tell sometimes someone will say, I coach or I do this and that, and I'll ask them, and they'll kind of be shocked. Like, I'm like, I know it's in, you'll have it on your bio, but I wanted to just hear you because I want to feel the authentic
Mm-hmm.
nature of the conversation
Mm-hmm.
because you sense that with how someone talks to you, communicates with you, nods, and also would they be good at it?
Right.
Because you have to be a good listener and you have to match and loop that person,
Mm-hmm.
matching them, constantly understanding it. But can harness me back in on the beginning of this again, just so I'm on the right
Well,
part.
for someone who is wanting to make a professional change, you said that they need to start thinking about their values. Sit down and write what is important to them, who they are as a person, and then start thinking about that.
And
Maybe
start
that.
writing the steps to get there. Yes. So
Right.
again, I start gabbing and because I'm comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted you to harness me back in because that's important. That's self-awareness to just say, okay, reel me back in.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is to put some accountable steps. Start writing these down and saying, I'm going to do it. But you also got to be realistic. When I was younger, I didn't kind of know. But when I first started, I just started to push to see what I could and couldn't do. And oftentimes you can do more than you thought. I was the number one dialer at TD Ameritrade outbound calls.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like making 65 outbound calls a day or something, which is a lot. And I remember my boss going, you think you get up that by 10? I'm like, I'm number one in the whole Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Like
Like
so
why?
you also have to understand what you're doing and also having some metrics so you realize I'm making progress, but if I don't make the progress, what can I improve or is my goal too high? Like without being unrealistic. So there's this feeling, but also how many times you're going to fail and look stupid. Like when I've had to make some calls recently, Haley's on the phone and I'm like, I say this is a game. You're going to get hung up on.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to be like, now's not a good time and all these other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, you have to get in the right framework, mindset.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't believe it. And I was like, oh, it's fun. And so understanding what you're trying to accomplish in your life matters to you. It doesn't matter to anybody else.
It's true.
So these little nuggets really matter. because people often get upset. You get hung up on or this and that. I'm like, well, I hang up on 20 people calling to sell me something every day too, so
Yeah.
it's no big deal. So anyway, having the right framework and writing these down so
Yeah.
you can go back and laugh at these and keeping the humor in your life,
Hmm.
I think are the important steps. And then try to understand things. But it often what we think something is in terms of a job is often not what people actually live.
That's true.
Their life is not as glamorous, so to speak.
Hmm.
So these tiny tidbits are really what got me to kind of do it my way rather than kind of the industry way. They're like, well, it's more work. I said, I like the paddling to
Yes.
catch the wave. I mean, I don't really, trust me. I hate it. I hate paddling. Paddled 1.8 miles to catch two waves at Chun's. I caught the biggest wave of my life. And I was like in complete ecstasy. And
Yes.
for
So
guys,
we circled back to the
it's like
start.
dating.
We got into
98% work,
yeah.
2% ecstasy. You know
Yes.
what I mean? With our
Right.
girls.
Yeah. And it's in the juice is worth the squeeze for you.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. That's what it is. I mean, because, when you're having those nice moments with your spouse or anybody else, and you're just kind of looking at each other and just like, wow, this is wonderful.
Hmm.
That's what the work is for, to
Hmm.
have those moments. Or when I'm sitting there with my mother watching this show from Australia, that they're saying the funniest things. And I'm like, Mom, those don't mean what you think they mean because it's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was, I don't even know, it was like a sheriff and her lesbian girlfriend who was a veterinarian. And like, it was so funny. But those are the moments that really matter. So you want to make sure everything's written down and you have these plans. But in surfing, like anything, you have to work at it. And nothing great worth having is easy at first.
It's
It's
true.
just that's what relationships are,
Hmm. It's true.
which is where I was going with the surfing.
Yeah.
It's a
So
lot of work.
no, it is. It is. In what is the best way to for anyone who's listening who wants to connect with you and read more about your work, to potentially work with you, to get your book? What can we put in our show notes for people to find you?
Go to my website, willaryoung.com.
Hmm.
I have a bit about me, podcasts I've been on. I've created some basic AI videos on just things to look for and ask,
Hmm.
about uncertainty, about where you want to go. These are just simple things to think. Because if you don't sit and think about your life and your goals and where you want to go, no one else is.
Hmm.
You
He's
have to
also
take
got
control
great
of this.
great travel tips too, as a nice man.
Yes, got amazing travel tips. I travel a ton.
Yes.
And like you can always ask me, hey, I want to look at this. Can you run it through? I will help you. I've
Yes.
had a few people who are like shocked. They're like, why do you do it? I said, because it's fun. Because
Yeah.
now when you travel, you're going to think of me because
Yeah.
I helped you, because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, this is awesome. Because trips give you a sense of the world. And in Greek terms, it's called skule.
Hmm.
Skule was basically when you went on vacation. It's called leisure, but we now think it was work, where
Hmm.
you would work and do some because you have a chance to be outside of your normal work life. You can actually think about other things, and
Right.
you can expand your mind, so to speak,
Hmm.
because you're doing things that aren't taking up your normal mental space.
Hmm. It's very important. Well, Will, it's always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for being on, and can't wait for everyone to hear your wisdom.